About 12 years ago, I was really into Indiana Jones and I really wanted to learn how to crack a whip. Unfortunately, 10-year-old me couldn't even come close to affording a well-made whip. Unable to purchase a whip, I decided I really wanted to learn how to make a whip. That desire to make a whip resulted in this monstrosity. What this is 3 strands of duct tape braided together and then taped to a Lincoln log. A couple days ago, I was going through some of my old stuff and I found this old duct tape whip, which is basically a piece of crap. However, it got me to thinking what would happen if I applied my now 12 years of whip making experience to making a whip out of duct tape with a better design and more professional techniques. I decided to cheat slightly and make the core of my whip out of paracord instead of duct tape. I was just worried that the tape would not be able to handle the high levels of stress exerted at the end of the whip. For the handle, I decided to go with a 12-inch steel spike. This made for a very cheap and sturdy handle that also would add a little bit of weight. I went ahead and connected the paracord core to the spike with a lengthwise piece of duct tape. To make the strands I would use to begin plaiting the bellies, I pulled out a long piece of duct tape and carefully folded it in half. I was pretty happy with the long duct tape lace I was able to get with this technique, but to make it more manageable for plaiting, I decided to tear it into 2 thinner strands right down the middle. I was then ready to begin plaiting the first belly. I took the 2 strands that I made by their middles and did a standard 4-plait square start. This is done by crossing the strands over one another and then taking the upper right hand strand around the back and between the 2 left strands. I then just continued with this 4-plait until I made it about 3 or 4 feet down the length of the whip. This is the completed first belly of the whip. I trimmed the ends of the belly strands in a stair-stepping manner in order to have a better taper. Then I lightly wrapped them in duct tape just to keep them in place. I then wrapped the whole belly tightly in duct tape. This bolstered the transition slightly and also added a bit of thickness. I went through the same process of strand prep and plaiting for the second belly. The only difference for the second belly is that it used much longer strands and it extended much further down the length of the whip. Once I finished plaiting and bolstering the second belly, I went on to prepping the strands for the overlay. I wanted the overlay to be 6-plait, so I needed to prep 3 long strands of my duct tape lace. In order to avoid having to drop strands or tie a fall hitch with my duct tape lace, I decided to begin plaiting at the end of the whip and add in my 3rd strand at around the halfway point. Once I finished plaiting, I taped off the strands and began building up a sort of knob at the butt of the handle. This will give the handle a nice comfortable grip. I then tacked the knob I built up in place with a few wire brads in order to keep it from shifting.
I then finished the whip by rolling it out in between two pieces of wood.
The result is this 7-foot 6-plat duct tape bullwhip with 2 platted bellies. All things considered, I'm really happy with how this whip turned out.